Morning, everyone. Today I'm going to introduce you to Canvas. Canvas is a different LMS system. You might have seen Google Classroom these past few days, but this is an alternative to Google Classroom. But I wouldn't say an alternative. It's more like it complements Google Classroom to an extent because the features what it has is far more than most of the LMSs which are out there in the market. So as you know, learning management systems are quite different in the market today. We have Moodle, we have what you call Sakai. There are so many other ones which are in the market. But I'm saying Google is a very good, what you call it. The Google Suite is worth for colleges. But I wanted to just show you what other alternatives are there in the market. But but to tell you the fact, this would actually complement your G Suite if you use it. So anyway, let me start off with how it looks in the first book. So let me begin. So as you can see, this is Canvas. It has a nice dashboard, as you can see, right? A big dashboard over here. You can actually set up your courses and and put it for the students over here. So whatever course you set up is on this page over here. So as you can see, a nice icon with the course name on it. Now, since I'm a teacher, I'm showing you the teacher's view of this page. If I was a student, it would be a little different because you wouldn't have certain controls. Because students obviously shouldn't have control over certain things. So let me show you step by step of how it is. Now, suppose say now you created a course within Canvas. All you need to do is click on a certain course. Like for example, Canvas 101. You can see over here, this is how it looks. This is the welcome page. So you can give an introduction to what your course looks like, what are you going to include in your course, and give special links at the bottom over here to link up to different areas of your course. For example, let me go to the pages and show you how this page was
Log me
made.
out. You log me out. You. Oh, but why are you always signed in from here?
So
You should always log out.
when you click
Now
the
log in
edit
again.
button, you can see you can add pictures, you can add Google Meets, you can add whatever you like over here. Can you see Google Hangout Meets, Google Apps, as well as you can actually type whatever you like over here. So whenever you make a page, you can put it as an introductory page for your course.
Who?
Let people know exactly.
Where? And what has he logged in?
So,
What has he logged in?
so in this way, you can actually.
And then you will get all very weird things.
So anyway, when you talk about creating a course, you have a page over here which introduces you to the course, and then you can link these things to various modules, as you can see over here. But let me get back to the modules before we get into anything. Can you see here? There are modules as a setup, this thing. But in academic terms, I would put this as units. You all might be familiar with the term units because in Mumbai University, I'm pretty sure we had Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5, Unit 6. So modules are just like units. And within each module, there is course content. As you can see over here, all the course content is put up over here. It can be a set of documents, it can be quizzes, it can be assignments, all within the module itself. So now over here, as we can see, like for example, the first thing what you want to know is what is this Canvas all about? So you can see I made a page telling you about Canvas. And you can even embed YouTube videos within that page itself. So as you can see, if you hit the play button, a YouTube video plays. So you can actually embed a lot of videos within a page. But now let's say we don't want a video. Then you can embed a PDF. So when you tap on a PDF, as you can see, a PDF opens over here. Takes a little while, and here you have a nice PDF within this thing. So within a module, you can embed a quiz, you can embed an assignment, and you can embed whatever content you like. Even you can embed content from the Google Drive itself. So you must remember, these are the things you can do with this right now. So this is the introduction to it, exactly. But now when it comes to creating a course and doing different things within it, I'll have to show you how to do that in the first place. Right now you just saw what was over there. But now let me begin with the course. So when you start a course, you click on, when you want to start a course, you click on start a new course. And then within that, let's say, let's give it a name. Let's say something like, let me think of a name, 1 second. Like today's thing is about basics. Basics of Canvas. And it depends on what type of license. Now, if you're putting copyrighted content, that means your own content, if you're not borrowing anything or whatsoever, then you put it as private, copyrighted. That means it's your content, no one can rob it. But if you're borrowing content or anything, you must set this to public domain. It's a good habit, I would say. Do that. Now you can see the course is not at all set up. It's blank. Nothing is in it. In order to start off, you need to first create a module. So when you create a module, let's say we want to create unit 1 as a module. We just have to hit on the add module button and see a module is created. And now when you tap the publish button, that module is published. That means if you don't publish a module, your students can't view it. The students can only view a module unless you publish it. And then you can upload files. Now let me tell you, there are two versions of Canvas. One is the one which you can host within your college, and the one which is open source. I mean, the open source one is the one which you can host within your college, and the free one is on their servers itself. So if you want the free for teachers account, you all will have to register yourselves on their server. I send you all the link sometime on how to register for this service. It's free of charge right now. And if you want the pro version of it, I mean the pro version has many things like administrative views and all sorts of things. If you're looking for it, then I would recommend you all to, I mean, go for the pro version if you would go for this system. But right now I'm just showing you what the system can do. So once you let's say I want to put some content over here. Let's say I want to put a book like DevOps. Now I'm a software teacher, so I'll be talking about that in terms, but over here, let's add a book to this system. As you can see, your book is uploaded within the unit itself. But if you want to restrict access to the students and you want them to access this material from a certain date, you can do that. Let's say you want them to access this course material from the 10th. Now say, suppose you're teaching them something and you don't want them to get a hair. I mean, it's up to you. It depends on the style of teaching. I would prefer to give my students the notes before I come to class because I would prefer them to read up and come to class. But if you have a habit of showing first and then making them read, then you can schedule the availability of those notes. Or say if you put up all your course content and if you didn't touch upon a certain unit, then you can schedule the availability for that unit or for that, what do you call it, for those files which you put up here, or course content which you put up. So right now I'm restricting them from accessing this till the 10th of July. When you click on this, it will say available after 10th of July. Now let's say I'll make another unit. Let's say unit 2. It's the second unit. Now I'll upload another file on something else, cloud architecture solutions. Let's say now it will take a little while. Once it uploads, it will give you an indication that the file goes into that unit. As you can see, it went into the unit. But I would not publish this unit right now. I'd wait for a while. Because right now I'm going to show you another feature of Canvas. You can actually create what you call prerequisites. But I would like to create prerequisites with a quiz. Let's say quiz 1. Let's add a quiz. When you create a quiz, you have to edit it. So within the quiz over here, you can say that this quiz will test your knowledge on software testing. Okay. So you can put that over there. And you can set a time limit for them. Let's say I wanted to finish this in 10 minutes. And if you want to shuffle the answers around, you can do so. How many attempts? Let's say right now it's by default 1 attempt. So if they don't get it right, they have only 1. But if you want to give them at least 3 attempts, you can give them as well. But that's again not fair, I would say, in a scale, because people would exploit that methodology. But you can prevent that from happening because the questions every time you can give them can be very different. So if you, for example, set up a question bank, then it can randomly select questions from the question bank and each student will get a different question. But right now I'm not going to show you how to set up a question bank because that we can do in a little later time. Right now I'll show you the basics. So let's say now, let's say question 1, something like that. Let it be a multiple choice question. Let's say software testing. Software testing is used for, let us say, improving the software. Software, or is it used? We can put another option like test the users, test the UI and stability. Or last, another option like, let's say, UI, improving the software, test the UI and stability, that is user interface. And third, we can even improve, let's say, compatibility. And the last option can be all of the above. And this is the curve. Since all of the above is correct, we select all of the above. These are wrong answers. When you put all of the above, you get 1 point. And as you can see, all of the above is 1. Okay, so 1 question's in the quiz. So like that, you can go on making different questions. Fill in the blanks, true or false, multiple choice, numericals, matching, essay question, file upload. You can go on adding things to it. So there's no problem. It's limitless over here. So you go on putting a new question and then update it from time to time. So this is how it is. So now let's say I want to now publish this quiz. Let's publish it, right? Now, as you can see over here, I don't want people getting to unit 2 without accessing it. Now, for now, I'll just publish this. I'll want schedule any availability. If you want them to move in progression, you want them to first finish unit 1 and then move to unit 2, we can do this. Let me show you what it is. Requirements will allow you to do that. You want progression in your course, right? So when you want progression, you add requirements. As you can see, we can add 2 requirements. That means software testing, they must view this book, and second, score at least 1 out of 1, obviously. Until they score 1 out of 1, they can't move to the next unit. This way, you can actually test your students n number of times if you want. This quiz can be ungraded, by the way. You don't need to grade them on it. You want them to learn? Huh? Yes? Yes, sir.
People are already little confused.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Tell me.
Yeah, I know Canvas has a steep learning curve.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And actually, only people who are very comfortable with Google Classroom will be able to take on Canvas. Okay.
Correct.
But maybe a little word from the beginning. Step 1: how a teacher should register.
Our
Okay.
teachers should register.
Yeah, how teachers can register, create a classroom. Okay, and I mean create a kind of a dashboard for themselves, and then take it on from there. So like I've got a lot of requests. Okay, like just restart from fundamentals. Sorry, Aaron.
Okay, no problem. So I'll start from the fundamentals. Now, if you need to
Yes.
create a course, you have to go to canvas.instructure.com and then create an account. As you can see, you need a Canvas account. Click here, it's free. Click on that button and then say I'm a teacher. Then you come to this page over here. Get a free Canvas account. So this account is for your institution. As you can see, you need your first name, your last name, your college which you're from, your email address, your phone number, your organization type, and why would you like to use Canvas and which country you're from. Once you fill up this form, you get an account. Exactly. As you can see over here. So I would recommend you all, if you want to try out Canvas, fill this form up and then we can see how I can add you all into the course. Because now see, every college needs to have a certain account. So if one teacher has an account from your college, you can add other teachers to it. Right now, Xavier's has its own account, but you all will have to register by yourselves for this account. So you have to create an account over here. Or if you want me to show you another alternative, I can demonstrate, I can give you a small little sandbox server to test Canvas right now if you want. If you can't register, or if you have nothing over there. Instead, now I've set up a Canvas instance over here. I can give you all access to what you call it, setting up the course over here. I can add a person and you all can register. Okay, 1 second. Well, 1 second, just pardon me, I'll just enable that system for all of you all to access. I mean, then you all can start creating accounts and start testing it out. 1 second, let me go to the authentication tab, all account types. Should come to it. It will take a little while to reflect, but it will come. So what I can do is, in order to log in, you come to this login screen over here, right? As you can see. So when you're on this login screen, you can actually create your account from here. But after you create your account, you log into the system. So as you can see, this is my login screen. Now I'll log into the system. 1 minute, I'll just put this link in the chat. Let it refresh 1 second, because at the moment I didn't open up the thing. Now you can see, need a Canvas account, click here, it's free. So you can register yourself as a teacher and come into it. You'll get an email in your box and you can test this out. So I'll send you this link, because by the time that other Canvas, if you have to register, it will take a little while. So for now, you can use the one which is running on my server for right now. 1 second. Let me see where the thing runs. Chat. Now this Zoom also is sitting. Yes, somebody asked me how many people can use one account if you have an institute account. If you have an institute account, n number of people can use it. However large you like, they can use it. There's no problem over there. So if you register with Canvas, you can call a large number of people over there. So right now, I'll just give you all this link. Y'all can register using this link itself. Now you'll try connecting to this server and see if you can get through to it. Then make yourselves an account. So is everyone following up clear? Or is there a little confusion? So if you all want to do something, this is the best thing to do now. Over here.
So you all can unmute yourself and ask questions, huh? Like,
yeah.
You all can stop. See, today's session is only on Canvas, okay? Because we know it has a very steep learning curve, okay? And many of you all who are not used to Google Classroom, you all will find it very, very difficult. However, like you all can immediately stop Aaron in the middle and ask him to replay. Okay. Unmute yourself for 2 seconds. Ask him and you can yourself back. Yes. Anyone with a question?
Can we use the account as an individual?
Oh yes, you can do that also, surely.
Yes, very much so. From your Gmail, you can register anywhere. You can register any email account. You can register
any email account.
What is Moodle and Canvas? How are they different?
Well, actually, Canvas is actually a learning management system which was built for colleges, I would say. Oh. Google Classroom was built with schools in mind, to be honest. So in reality, if you see, Canvas is used by all the universities around the world. Now, universities like Oxford, Cambridge, then you talk about even Stanford, Harvard, they all use Canvas because this is a university thing. So if you want to do more than Google Classrooms, this system allows you to do. So the whole thing is flexibility. Like, for example, like Canvas has a system where you have slow learners and fast learners, people who can pick up really fast. So you can make a mastery path in Canvas, where a slow learner will get certain content to improve his knowledge, and fast learners will be on the advanced track. So in that way, you can gauge a student and grade them according to their learning skills. So this system actually works on a mastery path. Whereas Google Classroom has a traditional like classroom kind of approach where everyone has to get a similar grade and has to work on that level. Here you can branch the students into different categories and then help them grow. That means those who are weaker can anyhow come up. I mean, in the sense like they will learn with time. So you can put them on the slower path. They will slowly pick up the subject and eventually get to a point where they are very good at it. So the system helps to build up that confidence, you can say.
Aaron, there are some more questions. People are struggling to join.
Yeah. Tell me what's the problem.
Yeah, read the chat box.
I'll read the chat box.
Somebody, Miss Pooja has asked, what's the joining code? I'm trying to join as a student.
So she wants a join code. Okay. Oh, she's trying to join as a student, not as a teacher.
Yes.
Okay, 1 second. Then I'll do one thing. I'll let them join into my course. The Canvas 101.
Explain what is the difference between joining as a teacher, starting an account as a teacher, and also joining an account as a student.
Okay. So right now, As a teacher, you have this, can you see start a new course button, right? You can see. With this button, you can actually create a new course. But when a student joins in, they don't have this option, to be honest. Let us say, I want to create a course called Canvas 101. So a teacher only can do this. Now admin is different. Now I have a teacher's account with an admin privilege because I set up the server on the system. So right now what I can do is I'll import my, let's say you had Moodle content or whatever content you had in the past. All you can do is like import a course within it. Let's say now Canvas export package. Uh, 1 second, let me see. I'll pull my course inside of here. I'll just import it and then I'll start giving you all a join code. So once this course is up and ready, you'll get a join code and I'll put it in the chat box. So you want to join as a student, right? So I'll give you that code, no problem. So the cartridge is loaded. Now over here, this is the join code, can you see? The join code is over here. So take it. And I'll put it in the chat box. Where is the chat box? Over here. Okay, after putting in the mail, it says invalid password because I think you didn't create an account. That's why it says that. Because you'll have to register yourselves on the system. Let me show you how that.
So ask them, show them how to register. Basically, they'll have to go to Canvas instructor site, right?
Yes, Canvas instructor. This is the other site which I created for them, so that they can test it out. Because Canvas instructor will take a little while to get an account. So they are always Canvas instructor means you have to come to this free account and then create it and then write their name.
So right now tell them the steps. They can join your class.
So I'll let them join over here. Join this. So I sent an instructor link also. Join this right away. I know there's a lot of this thing going on. So not privately, sorry. Why is it coming to everyone in the group? Yeah, register. So let me show you how you register onto this. So over here, it depends. So you're saying you're a student, right? Let's put the, so some people can join as a teacher, some people can join as a student. It depends. Now you want to join my course, you use a join code, right? And then you put a username, let's say. Now since I'm a student, okay, so then I put over here Aaron123 as a username. I'll set a password. Start learning. Okay, so this course hasn't been published. So 1 second, I forgot to publish it.
According to Wikipedia, public sex is sexual activity.
Forgot to hit the publish button, so you can't access that. Sorry. This thing. So published. Yeah. Now it's published. So when you join as a student, if you remember, I put my name as Aaron123. Let's set a password for this. So either can be an email or username. So you can see this is the course and this is how it looks. You can write announcements, you can do all of this. So you join the course over here. So now you are a part of it. Okay, so 1 or 2 have joined. So now teachers also can join the course, by the way. Now those who have registered as a teacher can join this course. How many people have joined? Let me see. 3 people only. Santosh has joined. Okay, so if you're having problems, I'll give you another link, a third link. Can you see over here, enroll? So those who joined as teachers can still enroll for this course. Can you see the enroll thing is over here? So I sent it over the chat to all of y'all. So now try joining it and see if you can get through to it. Oh, sorry, what am I writing? Every time this Zoom makes it such a... Okay, so everyone has got the link, right? Tap on this link. Now see if you can enroll onto the course. So people are coming in, can you see? Into Canvas. It's a good thing actually. So one by one, all as students.
If anyone want to remove any person, for
Mhm.
example, there is a visiting faculty, she's using Canvas and later on she want to exit. So who has the authority to remove the person as a teacher?
Now, now when you're talking about using the account within your college itself, like now this Canvas which is set up over here is the open
Yeah.
source one where you have full control over it. So if you say like your college has an admin, right, who's in charge of this
Mm-hmm.
whole system, he can
Yeah.
remove that person out. Like,
Okay.
like for
Now,
example, as you can
huh,
see, the persons over here. Let's say somebody over here. Let's say I'm not going to remove them right now, but
yeah.
as you can see, Asha Matthew. Let's say Asha Matthew is a visiting faculty and she's over here. Suppose if she's no more a part of your institution, you can delete that person out of here by hitting the delete button, and she's out
Okay.
of the course after that. So you
But
have
what
that.
about the things which she has uploaded on through her? For example, she's taking some course and
Mhm,
she thinks many things are uploaded on the Canvas platform. So as
mhm.
she is getting exit, all her saved thing also will get deleted.
Well, it doesn't mean to say that you delete her things also, but you can
Yeah,
still
yeah.
archive. There is a way to archive it. So whenever she's done with the course, you have to say archive the course.
Okay.
That is what you have to do. So whenever you conclude a course, there's a button called conclude, as you can see, right? She has to
Okay.
conclude the course and then you can this thing her. Or if you want, the admin has the right to control every course technically. So when you have centralized control, the admin can override the control of the teacher, to be honest, because as an institutional part, suppose say if the teacher is misusing it or whatever, an admin can take over the course and then take full charge of it. So you have that control. So you can get the course content from the teacher directly.
Okay.
And and another thing is even you can export her content out. So there's no problem. So you won't lose the content like
Okay.
that. Mhm.
And as a student, how many students we can enroll?
Well, I mean, for number of students means it's n number of students. So
N
let's say
number of.
n number. So that means 150, 200, 300,000. Depends on your course, how
Yeah,
large
but
your
if it is a
class.
common account for everyone, as you said, and the
Mhm,
students, if we ask them to, because they'll be uploading their assignments or files or
mhm,
whatever. So,
mhm.
what is the like the limit for the space
The
into
limit
this
for space.
platform?
Now the limit of space on the free version. Now this is the free, what you call it, server version, which you host on your own college server. It only is proportional to the space on the hard drive of that server.
Oh,
So technically, you can restrict each course to let's say 4 GB or 5 GB.
okay,
So you have
okay,
that limit. So there's no problem. So like that, you can scale up with time.
okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone has any more questions? You tell me. I can answer them. Now, as you can see, this is the announcement section of it. So within the announcements, suppose say, let's say like, for example, people tend to, let's say, I mean, fall sick, like a professor falls sick, let's say, for example, we can't take class today. You want to send a message as fast as possible to your students. With announcements, you can do so. So let's say class cancelled today. Okay, class cancelled today. I won't be taking my lecture. Taking my lecture today. Yeah. And then when you hit the save button, yep. So an email will be sent to all the people stating that within this course itself, like for example, Canvas 101 is a course. Within the course, an email will be sent to all the people stating that I won't be taking my lecture today. Within the course, not the whole college, I mean within the course. So that means then you can probably, what to say, arrange for some certain lectures and adjust wherever necessary. That can be done. And if you want, you can even reply back to that post, as you can see over here. And there are a lot of integration and tools with this as well, even while creating assignments. Like for example, you can integrate with Google assignments as well, or you have the traditional assignments over here. So has everyone logged in the end? You see the chat messages.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so everyone can see, right? So you want to see a live example of Canvas, so someone is saying. So compared to Moodle, as someone said over here, Moodle versus Canvas, I'll say Canvas is the most superior one compared to Moodle, to be honest. Well, to be honest, let me show you where Canvas is used. Oxford University does use this, by the way. Oxford, then this one also, what it calls Stanford, all of them use Canvas. University of Oxford uses it. Can you see? So they use Canvas. Then afterwards, Stanford uses Stanford Canvas. Let's see. Can you see Stanford University also uses Canvas? Let us say MIT. MIT uses Canvas. So if you're saying Canvas is actually one of the newer systems which came out in the market, which has more features than Moodle, Sakai. So many of the colleges are going for it. Even many of the universities and colleges are using it. So as you can see, even MIT is using it. Even Harvard. See for yourself. Even Harvard University uses Canvas. So all these universities use it, to be honest. They have an SSO system built into their systems and all that again requires. Now, institutional pricing, somebody was asking about institutional pricing. And let me tell you what's the institutional pricing. You can actually, what to say, it depends on how big your college is. So you have to actually call those people up and ask them for the pricing, because pricing, I can't give you the pricing. No. It's all it's either it gets converted to rupees, by the way, because I think the Pillai College is using it. Pillai College is using Canvas, from what I know. Others are not, but if you're using the open source edition, you don't have to pay a dime for it. It's free. So if you set it up on your own server, but it is a little challenging thing to set it up on your own server, but if you do set it up on your own server, it's free of charge. Or if you're using the free for teachers accounts, it's free of charge. So those are the two places where you can actually use it. For example, now let me show you my classroom to understand it better. I taught students, right? So I'll just show you. Now this is the Canvas on the Instructure thing, but I used to use it since our college got accounts from Instructure, so I was using that as well. So this is another one. I'm sorry. Let me log into my right account. Right. So now I'm in over here. Now what I need to do is I'll show you a live example. Now I've graded some students from time to time. So I've given them assignments over here. Let's say this is an assignment and I wanted to grade. And I want to grade them. So 1 minute, I'll move this chat box out. So can you see, can everyone see the assignment screen? Is it visible to everyone? I hope it's visible. So you have a button called Speed Grader on the right hand side. When you click that, assignments can be viewed over here. Can you see? This is all my students, what codes they put up over here. This is basic biology students who are trying to this thing code, trying their best at code, writing strings in Java, basic codes, I mean to say. So you can grade them over here using the speed grader. The assessments are here, and you can see over here, you can actually annotate over there and write a comment about that. So students will know where they went wrong, and they have another chance to submit an assignment again. But today the system has a new thing. So let's say now otherwise a student would every time submit assignments a million times, and the problem is you can't stop them from attempting. So the system now has a new feature. Let's say assignment 1. I want to restrict my students from ever again putting up new attempts. Let's say give them limited attempts. Let's say up to 3 times you can upload your assignment, improve versions. After 3 times, you're out. So 3 strikes, you're out. That's what it is. So in that way, they can't play the system to a degree. And another thing is you can lock them out after a certain due date. So if you put it as Jan 31st, the assignment gets locked out and they can't upload the assignment after that date. So you can lock them till the 31st day of Jan. They can't enter the system. So set the due date and until to block them altogether. So that's how you get an assignment. But right now, what I'll do is now on our course, I will create an assignment to show you how assignments work, and you all can upload a few things up to see how it works. So let's say now I'll create an assignment over here for all of y'all. Let's say introduce yourselves. Okay. So right now I'll give you an example. So you have online submission, as you can see, text entry, file uploads, website URLs. So when you are submitting, it can either be on paper or using an external tool. Now, external tool is if you want to use Google Assignments, you can use Google Assignments. Or if you want, you can even integrate it with Turnitin, by the way. So if you want to catch plagiarism, you can either use Google Assignments or Turnitin for this. But Turnitin is more recommended, I would say, on this platform. If you all haven't invested into Google, then it would be worth looking at Turnitin also. If you all are invested into Google, then I wouldn't recommend you paying for Turnitin. So that's another thing I would say. So now I'm creating an assignment for you all, and then I can set the time limit as well. So let me say I'll set it till the 4th of Jan. I'm sorry, 4th of July. Sorry, I'm forgetting, getting disoriented with the months. But anyway. You even have a thing called moderated grading. So 3 teachers can be there. 3 teachers can give marks, and the final grade can be decided by the final examiner. So with moderated grading, you can moderate people's grading and do it anonymously. So when you do anonymous grading, a grader can't view the teacher's name. I mean, can't view the student's name, and they wouldn't know who they're correcting. In that way, at least then there was no partiality, I would say, to some extent. So it's always recommended that it's better if you don't view your students' names. So now let me publish this assignment and show you how it works. So I'll just hit the publish button. And now you have an assignment to do. So I'll put it inside the first unit itself over here. Let's say I'll add it to module 1. Introduce yourself. So I think everyone has got it, right? Now try attempting the assignment and see how it works. So try attempting this assignment and see. Now, from a student point of view, if you don't know how the course would look and from a point of view of a student, you go to the settings tab on the left and hit students view on the right. So now you're actually viewing this as a student, as you can see. So let's say now I want to start with the overview of Canvas. So I come to the modules. And as you can see, I have to complete these items before going to the next. So you set requirements like, for example, now what is Canvas? I have to read what is Canvas. Then I have to find out what are the features of it. Go through it. The students have to go through it. Third, what are the benefits of it? Obviously, I have to go through all this content. For vocabulary, understand what it is. And fifth, look at this lesson. So you have to view all of this, by the way, in order to distill it. And sixth, let me show you another thing. Institutional practices. As you can see, all this is over here. And finally, submission. This is the assignment. Can you see? You have to upload. It's showing you over here. Can you see one big track is over here? It's out of 20 marks. So file or URL is allowed, or text entry. So let's say you select text entry, you can actually type your assignment within this system itself. Everyone. Okay, so this is what it is. And when you hit the save button, you can say this is your content and then submit it. So you can upload Word files, documents, Excel sheets, whatever you like. But it has to be graded right now, right? As you can see. Now I was acting like a student. Now once I leave the student view, I need to this thing then. I need to grade them. So 3 people have uploaded their assignments over here. Can you see? Dr. Pramod Kumar from Excel.
Questions.
Yeah.
Can we take a question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can the assignment be done in Word and then uploaded?
Yeah, surely.
Yes.
You want
yes.
surely.
Okay.
There's no problem. Also, yes, sir. Tell me. Hello. Hello.
Can you post an assignment? Can you post an assignment for them?
I posted, right?
Someone has asked.
Introduce yourself.
Posted. Yeah.
I posted.
Yes.
Already promoted.
That's
Already
the
another.
assignment.
Yes. So another professor has already done it. So as you can see.
Yes.
So that means how many people. So it shows you over here who's posted the assignment. Can you see? Everything is over here. Let's say I give you 18. So the assessments are done. Right now it's anonymous. That's why, can you see it's only showing you student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I kept the names on, you could have seen the names of the students. Yes. And you can grade them accordingly. But as they say, no one should get full out of full marks, as there's a saying, because nothing is to that level perfect. It's always recommended that you shouldn't give your students 20 on 20. You should keep them to at least a certain level, because I always did that. I made sure that even if they got 18, they would remain at 18. They wouldn't go more than 18. Because in reality, because nothing is perfect, there has to be some flaw somewhere. But if you're talking about a mathematical equation, you have to give them 20 on 20, because that's for sure 20 on 20, because the answer is either right or wrong. Can you see anonymous grading? You can't see the marks. I can't see the marks myself, what I've given to people. It's all hidden. Then it can be moderated and then finally done up. But I think I'll remove the anonymous. Let me show you without what you say. Let me think what I was going to tell you. Without anonymity, how would the assignment look? Let's say I'll remove the anonymous thing from this assignment. If I do remove it, then I can actually see the names of the students. I'm just showing you how it would look with anonymous and without anonymous. Can you see everyone's name is shown over here? Can you see? Yep. As you can see, how it looks exactly. Some of them are graded, as you can see, the marks come over here. And probably some of you have got an email, right? I guess, because usually it comes as an email. And you can even set the posting. Grades will be hidden by default. But if you want it to be visible to the students, you can set it to automatically. So it's up to you. And another thing, another great feature of Canvas. Now within the grading section, now for example, now since I set up my assignment, I set up everything. You can go to grades. Can you see? Go to grades. And within grades, you can actually add a feature like automatically apply grade for missing assignment. Now, students are notorious for not submitting on time, right? So in that case, let them get a 0. Let them take a duck. What the heck? Because if they don't submit, it's their fault. You give them a 0. And when they submit, you can still deduct, let's say, 1% a day. So that means one day 1%, next day next percent, 2 it will become 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 10 days, 10% is deducted from marks automatically. Even if you give them 20 on 20, 10% of those marks will automatically be deducted by the system for late submission. So Canvas has this feature where you can actually deduct marks for late submission, which is a good thing in a way. In that way, students will rush to submit their assignment. That's what I did over the years in my section. Obviously, my students were never late for submitting assignments because they knew if they didn't submit an assignment, they had it. So I was strict that way, which is a good thing in a way, I would say. I can grade you from here also. This is a good thing. So I hope people are getting emails also regarding the same. So that is assignments for you. But let me take this one more point further. Now the common word rubric, you all might be knowing, right? I think all the autonomous colleges use grids, as they say, grids. Now a rubric grid is something where you judge the criterion of a person. Introduction, let's say quality. Let us say this on quality of content. You can create your own grids or you can use the institutional grid. Now, if you say find a grid, can you see? There is already a grid in our institution. I can reuse that grid. This is out of 20 bucks. Instead of creating one from scratch where you you hit the plus button, then you can add a criteria, give a title, full marks, very good, bad, poor. You can set all of this over here. And then you can give a description for each criteria over here. So let's say now I'll push this grid for grading what assignments you all are given. So let's say use this grid for assignment grading. So this current assignment is now has a grid attached to it. Now let me go back to the assignment and start grading people with this grid instead. Okay, so George Abrams is from SIS College. So let's say now when our writing skills is very good, plagiarism. That means in the plagiarism points he didn't copy anyone, this and that. You can set it to whatever you like. This is just on rough grid, which is not correctly set. I'll be honest with you. It is just some rough criteria over here. But you saw how easy it is to grade over here. That is the beauty of Canvas. It's very easy. And then you can see it here. Even if someone want to try uploading a Word document, they could have uploaded a Word document for the assignment. There's no problem. Everything is allowed in Canvas. Now, let me see what can be done. Now, you have a habit of printing out grids and ticking, right? From time to time. Here with Canvas, you don't need to do that. All you need to do is, now see, I graded George Abraham. So let's say I want her to print her grid and give it to me as a record in the college. You just tell her to go into grades and tap on the under the assignment, like introduce yourself with the name of the assignment, hit the rubric button. And when you hit the rubric button, you can see the grid over here. And you can see the mean score, how your classmates are doing also, by the way, if you hit this button. So you know how's the class performance. Are you within that average or not? So most are scoring 18 and above, it's very good. So you are within that average. And finally, if you want to print, hit the print button. And you'll get a beautiful grid like this, automatically ticked for you to submit to your exam office with no issues. So you don't need to sit down and tick and write. You just tell the students to print it and give it to you. They can't misuse this grid, by the way, because anyway, it's within the system. So if they try to manipulate, you will know, because your exam department is linked to this system. That's how it is. So that's how it is. So you saw rubrics are there, grids are there, everything is there within Canvas. And if you're an administrator, you have even more power. So you can make common grids for all the teachers in the whole college, and every teacher can use it. That's how powerful Canvas is. So now when you talk about discussions, let's say we can have a discussion. Let's say, how is Canvas? Write your experience. I'll make a discussion over here. You can actually make threaded replies. User must post before seeing replies. Allow liking, threaded, everything over here. And you can even make it a group discussion, by the way. Right now, we are not making any group discussions. I'm making a discussion. So under discussions, you can tap how's Canvas, and probably you can start replying back to this. So now try doing it and see if it comes through. I want to see people if they can reply back to this. So try and see. Under discussions it is. Let's see. Another thing is also here you can add a to-do list. Some work you have to do, so you can add it for the students. So it's possible. So let's see now. It's a discussion topic. People can reply. You have to hit the reply button over here and type a reply. Start, you can try and see, and let me know how it is. This is just for testing, see how system works. So to get a better understanding. But anyway, now moving on to the next section, let's talk about groups. Now in Canvas, we have another feature called groups. This is now you might have heard of the term and students say, I don't want to be with that student, or why sir did you put me with this person, or something like, no, I don't agree with that person, sir. Why did you put it? You're very partial. All those type of comments you get from your students. Everyone knows that. But in order to tackle that, we have a thing called as a group set. So within a group set, you can say, let's say assignment group, presentation group. Where I do presentations. Yes. Presentation group. So if you want to set a group for them, Canvas can do it for them. And let's say now if you have, let's say you want to split them into how many groups, let's say 7 groups, 8 groups, automatically it will do it for them. And this set a random student as a group leader and set up a random group. So this system will randomize and select students, as you can see now. Can you see? Randomly assigning students, and students are assigned in seconds. Can you see? Who's in which group? All randomly. So in this way, you can prevent people from, what is it, saying partiality. You can say the system chose you. I didn't choose you. So you wouldn't have that argument anymore. So if the system chose you, you're on your own right now. So each group, by the way, has a group homepage. So within a group homepage, you can actually post content within it. You can have healthy discussions as to what you are doing, and you can share it with the teacher if you like. There's no problem with it. And that's a very good thing in a way. In this way, at least the teachers and students will know what they're doing, and teachers can encourage students to do even better. So the whole point is having these group sets. And another thing is, with the group sets, you maintain that anonymity between various groups. In the sense, there are 3 different groups and 3 are doing different presentations. Each group wouldn't know the other one's presentation, which is a good thing. And the best part of group assignments is one person only needs to upload it. So let's say I'll make a group assignment over here to demonstrate that for you. Group assignment. You say group assignment. So, okay, upload a PPT on this stage. Upload a PPT is a simple thing I can say, a group assignment, and say this is a group assignment. You can assign grades to each student and assign to all the groups over here. Can you say everyone? So group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, and peer reviews. Now, whenever you upload an assignment, you can ask students to review other students' work. Now in universities abroad, this is very common. They make students do reviewing. So that means 1 review per person can be done all over. And they can have intra-group peer reviewing, where different groups can review your thing. But I wouldn't want to enable that right now because over here we don't use that practice. set the due date and until when it is. And let me show you the assignment. So many of you must have gotten a group assignment. Now all you have to do is upload. So even if one student uploads, the whole group will get done. So no problems there. Now let's talk about group assignments are done, then discussions were there. So it looks like people have response. Okay. So people have written back. To the main thread. Can you see? We got so much over here. So you can write comments, you can do all of that. So people can discuss and then chat. I mean, this thing allows you to do lots. And another great feature of Canvas is it can integrate with so many systems. It can integrate with Google Meets. You can integrate it with, let me show you what it can integrate with. So this page load up takes a little while. Look at all these systems you can integrate it with. Acceptee, Amplify, Atomic Assessments, Systems, Badger, BioSign, Biometric Attendance, Box, Google, Code Labs. There's so many things you can do with it. Flipgrid also, by the way. Flipgrid, GeoGebra. So you can use a graphing calculator also within your course. So whatever you like, you have it over here. Let's see. So your admin has to set this up for you, and then you're good to go. You can do so much more with it. Even YouTube. Now let me show you how a Google, file from Google looks like on Canvas. Now, let me, for example, upload. Let's say I want to put a file from Google. So what I have to do is hit the external tool and hit Google Drive. Now I'll have to log into my Google account. Let's demonstrate this to you. So once it's logged in, you can choose a file from your Google Drive and put it over here. Let's say, let me go down. Workshop, this thing. Okay, let me just take this timetable. So, as you can see, it's linked over here directly, and you click Add Item, and you can publish it. And when you tap this button, you get a full view over here of what you see. Can you see? Your Google Doc has come right into this. So in this way, you don't need to link anything with Google. Everything comes directly over here. All you have to do is tell your administrator to link the main college account to Google, and you all only have to just give that token of Google to access your Google Drive to probably take out files from there. So even if space is a constraint, you can still use your Google Drive to enhance the learning procedures over here. So in that case, I would say if you take the free Google account, you get unlimited storage. Based on that unlimited storage, you can use Canvas on top of it and organize your whole course on Canvas. And lesser load will be on your server if you put all your files from Google Drive. Because half the time the load will be going on the Google Drive server rather than your own server. So it's recommended that if you're setting up your own instance, to use Google Drive as much as possible. Don't compromise on it. Use as much as you can. So that's the thing. Now another feature what Canvas has is, let me enable this and demonstrate it to you. The classic zoom. Now, 1 minute. Did I set my account right for this? But I'll have to demonstrate this in a different way. Account details. So right now, I'll have to set my account to the right account. Settings. Yep, disabled account this time. So now, let's say I want to make a Zoom conference with everyone. All I have to do is hit the Zoom button over here. And within Canvas itself, you can schedule a meeting. Let me show you how it works. Let's say, how to use it. When, from which day. So today is the 1st of July at, let's say, 2 p.m. I'm scheduling a 1-hour meeting. You don't need registrations. Videos can be what verbose and audio is computer audio. No telephone. And you have a password. All you have to do is hit the save button. And an email will be sent to all of you all stating that there is a Zoom meeting. And you all can actually access the Zoom tab from here and see this meeting. So this is how easy it is for using Zoom on it. So you can use Zoom. But I'll tell you another thing, the Canvas which is provided by the company provides you another thing. It provides you with conferences. Now conferences work on Big Blue Button. Big Blue Button is another software which is used. If you are hosting your own Canvas, it's recommended that you can put in Zoom because many people are comfortable with Zoom. But if you're using the free for teachers account from Canvas Instructure, then they provide you with a conferencing tool already called Big Blue Button. So this is within their server. Can you see here it's written Canvas free for teachers on the left hand corner? So if you register your institute for this free account, you get a conferencing tool within it. And within this conferencing tool, you can schedule a conference and even enable recording, by the way. So let me show you how this works. So you know the features of Zoom by now, but let me show you what are the features of Big Blue Button. You can even set up Big Blue Button on your own server and run it. In that way, you can maintain that privacy if you want. But all the privacy is, or the onus is then that will be on the institute, not on anybody else. So that's how it is. So let's see. So as you can see, you can upload your slides over here and you can start teaching. So students can have polls, you can have different things over here. You can upload presentations, share an external video, share your web camera, share your screen. It has all the features of Zoom technically. And it has a whiteboard built into it. This is with the free for teachers Canvas account, as well as it's up to you if you want to set it up on your own server. Or only thing you have to one thing you have to mind you if you want to do that, you have to have somebody competent enough in the IT department to maintain that server. Otherwise, you can be susceptible to a lot of attacks. So that's why I'm saying stick with somebody who can provide you a conferencing platform rather than hosting your own, unless you have competent staff to do it. Otherwise, your whole infrastructure would fall apart. See how easy it is to write. Yes. So you can annotate over your slides. Now let me show you how you can upload a slide to this thing. Let me see, in the documents, do I have anything? Yep, I'll upload my lesson over here. Once that's uploaded, it will show you what's inside of it. Processing all those pages here. Can you see? And the best part is you can annotate over your slides. So that means you can draw things and stress on certain words. And a quick poll you can take with options A and B. You can do all of this in Canvas. I was just showing you what's Big Blue Button. Big Blue Button is a little bit formatted. Let's say I'll end this conference and it's done. Okay, so that is what they offer you, but over here it's a little different. Here you can use Zoom. If you're hosting it on your own college system, you can use Zoom built in. I think many of you all must have gotten emails, I guess, right? For this Canvas 101 meet. Anyway, we're already on Zoom, so we don't even need to use it. So I'll just delete this. So you can actually collaborate the system with multiple, what you call it, systems. So if you're using different multifaceted, multi-operational, it's open source, and you can integrate it with whatever you like. And you can enable and disable features, as you can see. I know this will be a little daunting for you all to see right now. I don't blame you all if you all are finding it difficult to understand, because it is a learning curve. It takes time. You can't understand Canvas in one day. As they say, Rome was never built in a day. So with time, you will understand how this thing works. So if you sit slowly, one by one, course by course, if you start building, then you'll start understanding why do we do this and why do we do that. So over here, like under the modules, like I said earlier, I'll come back to the point where I dropped off once, where I said you have to complete certain prerequisites to get to a module. So you can set requirements. So they have to view an item, score a certain score, all of that, in order to access the next unit. So with Canvas, you can actually do that. So introduce yourselves. So score at least, let's say 10. Unless you score 10, then you can access the next assignment. You can relock the modules and do it. And then under the prerequisites, you can actually put Canvas overview as a prerequisite. That means if you don't finish Canvas overview, you can't come to account settings. But to make this more understandable, I can rename this to Unit 1, because you all will understand that thing. It's very easy for you to understand that in Unit 2. So unless you finish Unit 1, then you can view Unit 2. It's like that. And another thing, suppose if you haven't reached Unit 2 as of yet, even in your lectures, you can lock this Unit 2 till a certain day. So once it's locked, they can't access it. So in this way, you can actually control most of your things over here. Right now, if you log in and see, you will find that you can't access Unit 2 anymore. But anyway, right now, since this is a learning curve for you all, I wouldn't want to lock you all out. So I think it will be wiser if I remove this prerequisite altogether right now. So I'll remove the requirements altogether. So you all can just scan through the units and go with it. So we can remove these prerequisites out. So now you all can easily access the whole course and see what is in it. So you have so many things: uploading assignments, either a quiz or a page or a discussion or an external URL. Now external URL is like, let's say YouTube. Let's go to YouTube and type, oh, 1 second. Let's say chemistry. So if you want to link this YouTube link over here, chemistry experiments, over here, all you have to do is put it over here. When you tap the link, you'll get a YouTube video, as you can see, and people can watch it. Then I can show you another feature. Now this system which I set up has many more tools in it. I want to show you some more tools. Let's say a periodic table. You can integrate it within your course. Now the periodic table should take a while. Yep, as you can see. So you can actually put a periodic table within the course itself. Then let me show you more features. There are lots of features in this. If I start showing you everything, it will become an overload for all of y'all. I can show you one last one, but no doubt I'll show you one last. The graphing calculator. It's a beautiful tool. Beautiful. Okay, it doesn't exist. Pardon me, it must have not been set up in the right order. Leave it off. So we can leave that off. But anyway. So you have all your different tools which you can set up and use over here. And once you do that, you have a whole course ready. And conferences are built right into the system. You can schedule your Zoom meeting with the students and everything can be done from here. Or you can just give them a Google Meet link. Let's say Google Meets now. Let's say Google Meet. So let's say I want to create a new meeting. Join a meeting. Let's say Canvas 101. It's so easy. So allow. So once you get this, join now. You can share this in, so the joining information can be given. And you can share it with all your people. So I can go back to Canvas, hit the calendar. Now the calendar is a very powerful tool. Let's say on the, today is the 1st, right? So let's say an event titled, so let's say Google Meeting, Google Meets meeting. Give them the link over here and then hit create an event. All you have to do is over here, take this link and create it. 1 minute, I'll make it more. Sometimes I'm a little bit sloppy, pardon me for that. So this is the link over here. All I have to do is hit the link button, external link. Okay. Now it's a link. I'm a bit sloppy. So all you have to do is hit the link and you're within the Google Meet. Can you see? It works brilliantly. Let me exit this anyway. Google Meets also has a lot of features now. Right now it's going to overtake Zoom in a little while. I'll say it's recommended if you start using Google Meet if you have the G Suite account. It's worth it. Absolutely worth it. Then you have more features over here. You have many more things. Like for example, events, appointments. Then there's even this appointment groups. Now you want to schedule students meeting you. So you can make time slots, let's say, limit each slot to, let's say, 3 users. Now on the Canvas 101 course, I would take a meeting on using Canvas. Your experience with Canvas. That I want to personally ask you like something and all. I can call you to my office and we can have meetings. What did I type? Okay. So time range you can say from 13:10, that is 1:10 p.m. to, like I say, 4:10. Not 13 and 14, 15, 16 hours, 17 hours. 17 hours till 5 o'clock. Limit participants to attend 1 point. So in that way, you can create different slots for each, and you'll get your messages over there. So with Canvas, you can do so many more things. You even have a built-in mailbox over here. So within the mailbox, you can, let us say the students in this course, I can write a personal message to somebody. Suppose. Let's say, to this one, either why you did submit your assignment or anything else, you can do that within Canvas. So you can even add as a faculty journal entry. Now faculty journals again are another feature, but I don't want to go to depth because there are too many features in this system. If I start going into depth, then it will take so many more hours actually in reality, to be honest. Otherwise it becomes a real this thing, I would say. Difficulty. Oh, someone uploaded a PPT over here. Let me see. Yep. Oh, someone from Sophia College already uploaded. Very nice. Started 19 credits. So in this way, I'm just saying you can do so many things with Canvas. So you have the grader over here, then you can write comments, you have assessments, so many things over here. Then now people who did not submit assignments also, you can send them messages also. That is also a possibility. You can message them actually. And one more thing, if you now let's say you have a student who cannot do many things. You can message them or whatever. If you have a student who cannot, like, say for example, access certain things or doesn't know how to upload an assignment and he submits the assignment via email and he's struggling and he has a difficult time working with computers due to some LD, whatever thing. I'm just saying, if he has something, you can do this for him. You can act as that user. Look at this feature. So I can technically log in as that student. This feature can be disabled by the admin, but so right now I'm acting as Ivan. Can you see? And I have the view of what Ivan can see. So in that way, the teacher has full control over the course, right to the student level. So it's beautiful this way. You can do that, but I wouldn't want to do that. I'm just demonstrating. But I wouldn't do that. I would disable that feature surely. Not a good thing. So Canvas, there are many more features, but if I have to go through all of them, it would become a very tedious thing, I would say. So the point is that you all should actually start exploring it, see what you could do out of the Canvas and slowly learn what is in it. And look at this nifty feature within the gradebook. Now, let's say your students didn't submit assignments. You can say message students who haven't submitted assignment, kindly submit your assignment. Kindly submit your assignment. You'll get emails when I hit the button. In a matter of seconds. Everything is here in Canvas. So you name it, you have it. You can do so much more with it. I mean, Google Classrooms is a good platform, but Canvas is a steeper, as Madhu sir says, a steeper learning curve. And one last feature before I close up this session is the comments. Now, comments, let me show you how it works. Comments is something like let's say universities around the world have different courses, right? And you want to actually tap into that material of those courses around the world. With Commons, you can get access to n number of universities around the world. And even companies like Apple publish their material over here. Now let's say, let us say something in literature. You can get so much of literature over here. So if you want to import a course, let's say British literature, you want to understand what they are up to and probably have to teach some lessons with it, you can probably do that over here. All you have to do is just import this whole course into one of your courses. Let's say Commons. Commons is a course. Just import it over here. But because since I'm not a literature person, I'll take something on the IT this thing. So let's take a course. So literature is a different thing for me. So let's take this Apple course. All I have to do is import it into my system. What I do is just hit over here, Commons, and import. And in the background, it will be importing the whole course. 500 MB, by the way. So it should import. And also remember, you can set the limit of your course over here. Let's say now it's by default 2000 this thing. Can you see? Now it's running. Once that cartridge is imported, you'll get a course. But I'll put another course because this is such a big course. 500 MB is quite a big course. Almost 2. I'll take a small course from there, something which is very, very small. Something chota, not bada. This is a document, this is a small course. Let's say inclusive learning 7 MB. Let's put it in Commons now. So you can review the content over here and then import it into your system. Or you can download it separately and import it into your course. And that way you can actually have more control. So let's see the import status. It's queued over here. Because in reality, because it can't do one and many import directly. So it's running over here. So once this is imported, then you'll have full access to this course. Now it all depends on your internet connection, by the way. So the college has good internet connection. I mean, this is a house. I'm running it on my own server over here at home. So this is a little different thing. So it will be a bit. So this was a sandbox version of Canvas to show you how beautiful it is in reality. You can do so much more. And I really like to see what you all can do with it after this session. I would be happy to know if you would start using it and if you would actually start implementing some of these features, because you can actually write to the people in Canvas also, because they have good packages. I'm not saying it's bad. It's absolutely worth it if you're going for the institutional account. I mean the full-fledged institution, not the free one. I wouldn't want the free one. So I'll go to Instructure and I'll show you. So Instructure is the site. All you can do is go to Instructure, and then you have many things in it. You have the Canvas Studio, the catalog, the portfolio. So you have different features all built into it, and even a video platform for making, like for your PMM students, that will be very worth it, I would say, to some extent. We do interactive videos, interactive sessions, everything you have over here. So if you're going for the whole package, it's absolutely free. And even portfolios. Now your students who graduated can have portfolios based on what they did over the years in your college. And you can showcase them using this portfolio. And by the way, even the open source version does have a portfolio, by the way. So students can actually keep portfolios of themselves on it. So you have no problems with that. So they can actually share this with employers, they can share it with different people. You can even put it up on your website. You have so many things you can do with it. but it's all hosted within your own Canvas. But over here, this is the more pro edition which they give you over here. So it's up to you. So if you want to go with the free version, you can set it up yourselves, but only thing you have to have a competent staff. But if you want to go for the paid version, you can talk to them, might as well, and find out what you could go with it. So I would recommend looking into this also as well. Whoever gives you the best deal, you take it from them. I'll end the session with that. So up to you. This is Canvas, and this is how you can use it to enhance your learning. I mean, enhance a student's capabilities. So this, I would end with on that note. So anyone has it?
a question, can even teachers set portfolios?
Yeah.
Very
Surely.
much so. Yes. Yes. Anyone with any question, you all can ask verbally.
Can I
unmute
ask one
yourself and
question
ask.
to you? Yes.
Yeah.
When we are like logging and this kind of screen is visible right now, so there are so many questions comes when you take this higher education, vocational. So when I want to start a course as a teacher, want to create the courses, how many subjects you are teaching? Likewise, I understand that you create a course, right? And then what actually the option we have to choose? Now you have shown portfolio videos like that. In what option we have to go initially?
You mean
So
for starting? You mean right from?
yeah, starting. Can you just tell me again? Can you show that which option I have to choose?
Now you come to a dashboard, right? Can you see a big
Huh.
whenever you open your Canvas, you're greeted with the dashboard.
Yes, yes.
So within the dashboard itself, you can see your courses, right? But you want to know
Yes.
where you can
हाँ
access
बोल
other things.
अच्छा
right?
लिसन
Yeah.
अभी ऋषि सर ने क्या बोला मुझे कि हर एक टीचर को एक सेकंड ना 1 सेकंड एक मिनट होल्ड ऑन कर
Hello.
हेलो
Yes, sir.
yes sorry we are done right
Yeah. No, actually, I was
Any
answering
other questions
somebody's
from
question.
anyone?
I was answering someone's question just
okay
now.
okay sorry
Yeah.
yes
Yes, ma'am. You're still on.
Yes.
carry on
Yes,
Aaron.
I'm hearing.
Yeah. So actually, I can say one thing. Now, when you talk about these courses, this is what you're greeted with, a dashboard, right? This is what you see. When you enter Canvas as a teacher, you get the dashboard. Even as a
Correct.
student, you get the dashboard. But the student won't get the option of start a new course. It's on your right-hand side. If you see all those pictures, you can minimize them. But over here on the right-hand side,
Yeah.
you have start a new course. So in this way, you can start
Okay.
courses like that. Now you're getting it, right?
Okay.
So each teacher
Yes.
has their own courses. Other teachers can't see other teachers' courses unless they're enrolled in those courses. That is how.
Okay.
And then profile. Profile I wanted to tell you all about. Now, when you hit the account button, you have notifications, you have your profile, and then you have your e-portfolio. Can you see? Now for scheduling, you have the calendar, right?
Correct.
So all of this is there. This is common for all Canvas things, whether free, whether expensive, whether anyone. It's the same layout. So you understood, right, how to operate it, right now.
So
Even
the
the
institute can have a common account, and through those account, the
the
institute teachers
institution can
can.
have, the institution can have one account, and then from one account import all the teachers through different
Yeah,
emails.
and through same portal, we can organize a conference. We can organize a Zoom meeting.
Yes,
Anything. It will be n number
anything.
of
Yes, surely. See, to add students and professors, even with the free version of Canvas, what they give you, you can do that by adding people manually or by giving them that join code. You remember I gave you a join code, right?
Yes.
So you can add the email addresses manually over here, line by line. You can, let's say, for example, this is how it is. You're getting it, right? Like this, you can add those email addresses and send it to them. Or to make your life easier, instead of doing manual data entry, we have that postcode at the bottom. Can you see postcode?
Okay.
So that way you can do it. It's quite simple, but once you get the hang of it, it will be very easy.
Yeah. Once we practice, I think it will start getting.
I think easy. So what you'll do is you'll actually now register yourselves on for the main higher educational Canvas. Take the Canvas platform LMS system. You will get it for free. You can test it out, see how it is, and then later, if you want to go in for the paid version, which has lots of features, you all can slowly transition into it. And the team is very helpful. I would say they have good support. So first, initially, first try it out, see how you all adapt to it, and then later, I mean to say, then go in for the paid account. Right now, don't go for the paid, go for the free. So in order to get the free, 1 minute, I'll give you this link. In order to get the free account, take this link over here and you can order it from those people. K12, by the way, someone asked me what is K12. K12 is actually used for schools. They have a school version also, by the way. So when you come over here, all you have to do is need a Canvas account, click here, it's free. Hit that button and say I'm a teacher. And then get a free Canvas account, register with your organization details. Even one teacher does it, all the other teachers can come into it. So make one common group or make a common course called professors, like how I did over here in my institute. I did the same thing. I registered on that and then did that. 1 second, I'll just log into my account. This is the one which is on the cloud. This is not the what you call customized one. So over here, you can see I have a group called professors. So all you have to do is you have to add your people over here. So when you hit the plus people button, add all the Gmail accounts over here and say teacher. Once they have access, they can use it. Then you can add students, you can add everyone else. But one member needs to register from the institute for this account. And once you get it, you can add n number of people. That's how it is. So nothing to bother. That way it's very simple, I would say. So anyone has any doubts or anything? Tell me if you have doubts.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
When we import some material from someone course, it needs some sort of permission.
You mean import material?
You imported that Apple or someone course, right? It will reflect on his account. Someone has taken the course, ready-made course.
No, it doesn't reflect that because these are open source courses.
Okay.
The Commons is a platform where you have open source courses all over the world. Okay. So you're free to use it.
Okay.
So like that, it doesn't reflect.
And if suppose teacher has a Canvas account and institute is not having the Canvas account, then how it will be helpful to the teacher?
If the institute doesn't have an account, you can still go for the free Canvas account, right? You're teaching in an institute, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you're teaching in that institute and have a normal email also will do, you can actually register for Canvas by yourself. You don't need, it will help you in many ways. You have most of the features except for a few things like admin control. See, like this one over here, as you can see, this is my Xavier's account, which I got for Xavier's from Canvas. This account doesn't have the administrative view. So technically you don't have the admin view. Can you see only groups, courses, that thing, comments. But if you look at the one which you can administer, you have the full control in your hands. Otherwise, if you take the paid for institution account, then you get this whole control. So like that, so you either take open source or take free for teachers or take paid. It depends on what are you using. If you're only one teacher using it, I would recommend take the free for teachers account. So go ahead and get yourself an account and you can try it with your students. Everything's free in it. So you don't have to bother, and it's, by the way, hosted on a cloud on Amazon. So you won't have much downtime or issues.
Aaron, one question, can I ask?
Yeah.
Saying that job title, what does it mean? Because when I'm trying to register,
Where is it? On this page, right?
Yeah. This same page, that red thing you showed. Yeah, this one.
So this one, right?
Yeah, right.
You can see if you're a teacher, you put it as teacher/instructor. Job title.
I'm not getting that option.
No, you're not getting. Strange.
Job title.
Yeah, what? Then this, right? 1 second. Again, I click on this. Job title, right? This is over here.
Job title.
Teacher/instructor. So you have to scroll down. You have to scroll down. You can see.
It's not going beyond.
Maybe which browser you're using? Chrome or
Chrome.
Firefox?
Chrome.
But very strange that.
I didn't get.
You can type in teacher, no? You can type in, right? Sirisha?
You can.
So we can type
Could
it?
you type in teacher?
Oh,
Yeah?
You type in teacher. TACH.
Yeah, just type in.
Okay, it's taking technologist. Yeah, it's not taking.
TA. Just put TA.
It's not taking.
Strange.
Very surprising.
Surprising. Because I'm
Maybe
getting.
you'll have to refresh your browser. Just refresh your browser.
Here you have lecturer, professor, everything. They just put professor, PRO.
I'm not getting that page.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Sometimes connection issues are also there. Then we are typing and network is not there. Maybe.
You mean connection issues you're having, right? Maybe.
Maybe.
Because now the internet is overloaded, as we all know, right? You can never say. So many people are connecting to it. So the whole backbone is stressed right now. Obviously, switches are overeating, machines are overeating. So obviously, we will have some downtimes, ups and downs.
Aaron, one more question there.
Yeah.
What can we write in product interest?
This
What
further
is-
education.
Product interest, you can say you're interested in Canvas. Say that. Tell me. Hello. So put it as Canvas. I'll say higher education.
Higher education, right?
Yeah.
Maybe then I'll get.
You'll get. You can say you're not a Canvas customer, you need information, how you can help, you can write there, we need to know more about it. Or if you want, you can even fill this free Canvas account form, which is very small over here, and then probably fill it out. Once and for all.
Yeah, now
Okay.
I got. Now I got it.
Nice.
Lecturer.
Good, good.
Yes, done. I think that. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
So I think we can stop for the day. Aaron, lovely, very, very informative session. Okay, you have been very, very patient. You answered all the questions for all of them. But however, obviously, Canvas has a definitely steep learning curve. So please first practice with Google Classroom. When you master that, then Canvas is the way to go. Okay, all universities abroad use Canvas, so we can also move towards that. Definitely. So stay tuned with us tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a very, very interesting session on use of iPad in education.
Yeah. And podcast
Yes.
creations.
Marzu,
Yes, and also podcast creation. And if we get time, we'll even show you Flipgrid.
Yeah.
Marzu, I want to ask one question.
Sure.
Yes.
So you were saying about the iPad, right? So if I have an app, if I buy an Apple pen or that XP pen, which is better? I have an iPad also. What do
So
you?
Which
first of all,
iPad you
please
have?
please check which iPad. It depends on that.
Apple.
No, Apple, which one?
No. iPad is Apple, but
Yeah.
which model? When did you buy it?
Air, normal iPad Pro.
Quite some time back. 1 minute. Let me. The model, how will I know?
It will be in your general setting. If you go to settings in general information about the iPad.
In settings, no?
Yes. In settings,
General.
about.
Okay, it's
Or you could just put your screen on and show us the device also. We might be able to identify. Yes, that could be an Air or just an iPad. But if you remember the year you picked it up, because only the ones which have come from this year onwards are applicable with the pencil.
Oh,
So that may not be applicable with even the first generation pencil. So even there are some minis who
The
are not
earlier ones are only
Yes.
pro version.
Yes, only for Pro.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have an, it's better that if you have a laptop, you go for
Yes.
XP pen, pen tablet,
Or
or Wacom
Wacom
pen
any
tablet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, if you're
And
planning to change your
also,
iPad, then it's okay. Then you can go in for any of the latest
yeah,
ones.
if you're planning
and
to
you
go for
can
a new
always
iPad.
buy the pencil with it.
That depends on the money and all, na?
Yeah.
Yeah, very expensive, extremely expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Uh,
one more question. Then we can write organic reactions, right? I'm more looking for
Yes,
that.
yes. You can write organic reactions.
definitely. Definitely.
Very comfortably.
Thanks.
It'll only take about a week or two of practice on the XP pen or Wacom, but once you're comfortable with it, then your handwriting will come smoothly.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, welcome.
so on the Telegram group, if we can have a count, how many of y'all are interested in XP pen or Wacom pen tablet? Okay, then tomorrow we'll float a Google form,
Yeah.
and y'all can fill it up, and it will be delivered to your house. And when it is delivered, you can pay. So basically, cash on delivery.
Fine. I'm interested. You want me to put it on the group?
Just put it on the Telegram
yeah,
group, ma'am. That'll
yeah.
be better because here
On the
once we
Telegram
close it,
group.
we'll
So,
lose the
yeah.
data.
Yes. So only 1 or 2 people are interested, and we need not float a Google form.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, we'll definitely float a Google form.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
So thank you. Stay tuned with us tomorrow.
Marzu, there's one question. Marzu,
Yes.
one sec. There is
Yes.
one question
Yes.
by one sir or ma'am, I don't know, admin by the name admin. The question is, slow learners can stick to Google Classroom, advanced ones can use Canvas, but the use of an LMS is compulsory for teachers to reach out to students.
That's what I had written. That's
Yeah,
what
so-
I had typed earlier as an
Yeah.
answer. But the question is, how do we resolve it? So it
Resolve-
depends on
I'm-
your individual educational institution, I guess.
Yeah.
Conrad, what is your take on it?
I'm trying to figure out resolve what basically the dichotomy between Canvas and Google Classroom.
No. Her or his question was that how do you enthuse everyone into it? Okay, so that was the question.
See,
Yeah.
my
How
take
do you
on
get
it
the
is
whole teaching fraternity of a school or a college to get into it? Okay, that was our question earlier. That's why I'm guessing that's how it is.
So
Okay, so it depends on strategies, HR strategies used by individual colleges and schools. That is not, I mean, within our hand. Okay, but I can vouch for this, that the Google Classroom is so easy to learn. Okay, kids in 2nd standard and 3rd standard are submitting assignments on Google Classroom. Okay, all school teachers are using Google Classroom, so I don't see any reason why a college or a college teacher will not be able to use it. Okay, so it's only the matter of strategy that the college or a school adopts.
yeah, so the levels of teachers in an LMS. So basically, I think the question is whether they should use Google Classroom or Canvas. So basically, my answer to this would be, we are not telling you which platform you should use. So you've seen us explain Google Classroom. We are encouraging you use it because it's easier compared to Canvas on the learning curve, but take nothing away from Canvas, because as Aaron showed you, about 1/10 of the features of Canvas, it's a whole gold mine to be discovered in Canvas. It depends on how much will you use out of those features. I don't know about schools. Marzu would know about schools better, but about colleges, there are certain colleges in Mumbai University that have either Edmodo as a tied-in partner for their LMS, or they have, I forget the other.
Adobe.
Adobe, yes. Adobe, yes, as
Adobe
their
Prime.
tied partner for the LMS. Xavier's technically has a G Suite for enterprise account. So by default, our tied-in partner is Google. And with
Google
the feature that Google offers us, I don't think we need to invest as a college. We need to invest in anything more. And that's why Marzu and I, including Kyle, have taken sessions for our college teachers also on Google Classroom extensively Aaron has also taught them Canvas. So we've propped up both, and we've told our teachers at least use one of these two. Classrooms for those who think it's easy and learners, and maybe Canvas for those who are already well adept with technology. But I don't think it will be very unfair of somebody to force one particular model down people's throat, unless of course the college has paid for the LMS, and then obviously it becomes a no choice for you, and the college has invested so much of money in it, so you will have to basically follow the diktat of the college. But otherwise, in our college, we have these two platforms given, and we have left the choice to our teachers depending on their proficiency levels to use whatever. So that's all I can say.
Like Mithibai College uses Blackboard. So they've been into Blackboard like since past about 3 or 4 years. All the teachers are extensively trained on it. And that's why they have a common platform. It also works with students. They don't have to visit too many platforms, and they stay also organized in one place. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, my recommendation to teachers normally is always this: learn maybe 2 to maximum 3 LMS platforms. Get a hack or a knowledge of about 2 to 3. One would obviously be your pet peeve, so you would obviously go to that always. But it's always good to know a couple of other ones. You don't need to know every LMS platform and every video conferencing app in the planet, basically. Know the famous ones, know the good ones, know the ones that work well, and I think that should be it. You don't really need to be a master at everything. So, and I mean, you could basically take sessions on Classroom for your own teachers in college, just like the way Marzu, Kyle, and I have done in our college for our teachers. So that's all that I can say about LMSs. Unless the college propounds one particular LMS, I think it would be, you should leave it to the comfort level of the teacher. Offer them and then leave it up to them.
Yeah. Great. So I think we could end it out here with that, Marzu sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Definitely. We can end it here. Yes, we are anyway overshot by half an hour. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.